Judge called it a life sentence for the victim's family in a deadly DUI crash. Life without a mother and a daughter.
Diane Correo was killed last summer in Rockville. Today, the other driver learned his sentence, 10 years in prison with 5 years suspended for Juan Francisco Diana of Silver Spring. He was an off-duty Uber driver and a Federal Protective Services officer. His sentence more than doubled the normal guidelines.
News 4's Jackie Benson joins us now live from the scene of that crash. Jackie?
Jim, I spoke with the victim's mother tonight. Now, she was in court for the sentencing that included photos of the terrible crash that took place here, photos of her daughter's body as part of the evidence.
So finally, I feel relief in the sense that at least something was finalized.
In a phone interview, Doris Correo says the judge's comment as he sentenced 34-year-old Juan Diana to 10 years, 5 to be served in prison, accurately describes her family's devastation at the loss of her daughter Diane. She was killed in a horrific two-car crash on Muncaster Mill Road in Rockville in May of 2015. Diane Correo had just turned 50 and leaves behind a daughter who is now 12 years old.
And a permanent life sentence, because we're responsible for a little child.
Prosecutors say that Juan Diana, Federal Protective Services officer and part-time Uber driver, the decal could be seen in crash photos, was alone and traveling an estimated 84 miles an hour on Muncaster Mill Road in his black 2014 Ford Fusion. He was not on an Uber request at the time. Police determined he had a .10 blood alcohol level at the time of the head-on collision with Diane Correo's white Ford Taurus. A 911 call made by another motorist that night was part of the evidence against him.
There was a black car that flew by us and ran the red light, was driving like incredibly recklessly and speeded very fast. And that was that was the black car that was involved in the accident.
Not only did one family lose a loved one, another family loses a young man that by all accounts and reasoning seems to have led his life in a very responsible way. And so, you know, this tragedy just bespeaks the notion that we need to make sure people don't drink and drive.
Now, we are told that in addition to the 5-year sentence, Juan Diana must spend another 5 years on supervised probation, use no drugs or alcohol, and have an ignition interlock device on his car. Live in Rockville, Jackie Benson, News 4.